What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Nerdy Mark channel. I am Sid the Nerdy Mark, and today I have your review of AEW and NXT. So before we get started, real quick announcement. Very happy to announce that Armbar Nerds is finally up and live, and it's taken off and whatnot. You can go ahead and listen to our podcast either through Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and several other platforms, wherever you listen to your podcast. Apple is, we're still working it out with Apple, but for right now, definitely Spotify is the next popular one. Check it out on Anchor in the link in the description or the eye above my head. We also have it on YouTube as well. It's not a video format, it's still just audio. We're gonna try to just keep it an audio podcast for now. If down the line, if it warrants it, we might change it to video. You never know, but we'll keep you posted. As of now, we don't have any socials for Armbar Nerds yet. Again, keep follow to mine and Armbar Audio's social medias for more info on that. Hope you guys will enjoy it. It's just a chill vibe. It's just three dudes talking about everything under the sun, basically. Hope that's something that is something that you would be interested in, but definitely give us a listen, check us out. If you like what you heard, drop us a comment, maybe let us know what you want us to talk about and whatnot. But with that being said, let's kind of get right into it. Let's talk about AEW and NXT, and of course, let's begin with AEW Dynamite. So, AEW broadcast its first live show in, 2 months so far, after the state of Florida has made pro wrestling, as an essential service. So that does affect both WWE and AEW and other wrestling companies that are in the Florida area. It was interesting to say that wrestling is an essential service. I don't see how, but whatever. They are allowed to operate at 25% capacity, so no full-fledged crowds yet. A couple of people in the bleachers, and mainly the AEW talent in the front. But we did begin AEW with Cody taking on the bad boy himself, Joey Janela, in a red-hot opener. This was a fantastic match. Both of these guys use some of the classic style. You don't really have anything pretty about it and whatnot, but it's still really, really good. I really enjoyed it. A lot of moonsaults, super kicks, elbow drops, etc. After a huge slugfest between the two men, Cody finally does put away Joey Janela with a crossroads, and afterwards, both men do share a handshake. So, really good opener, really good match. Up next, they play a video package for Nyla Rose, the current AEW Women's Champion, and shows her dominant reign from the time she first stepped foot in AEW and whatnot. Good stuff here. Then she comes out to cut a promo. She takes on Britt Baker's duties of completely verbally castrating Tony Schiavone. Poor guy, I want to give him a hug, but unfortunately I can't. But, after that, she goes and squashes Kenzie Page with a Beast Bomb, and that's literally about it. I don't know what else to say. So I'm going to lump these next two together because they were both promos. We first got an MJF promo. He's sitting on a chair, sipping on a glass of wine, and basically talks about people who compare him to legends like Ric Flair, The Rock, Roddy Piper. But he says that he is none of them. He's the first MJF. I'm better than you and you know and whatnot. And he says he will be in action next week. So that should be really cool. I'm really, really excited. I'm glad he has overhealed his injuries and whatnot, and he's at maybe at 110% now. I don't know. After that, we get a Shawn Spears promo. Shawn Spears accuses Cody of not being a good brother, no pun intended, after his actions last week where they could have thrown in the towel for Dustin, but Cody said don't do it and whatnot. Then afterwards, we see Tony Schiavone interviewing Shawn Spears and MJF. And MJF and Spears definitely are just complimenting each other all the while. So, it's pretty cool. It's pretty interesting to see. We then get Frankie Kazarian sporting a new hairstyle, which looks fantastic, by the way, taking on the AEW champion himself, Jon Moxley, in non-title action. What an awesome match this was. I loved every single thing about it. Moxley, he's always a sight for sore eyes. I mean, I just always love seeing him. He ups the cool factor, but like no one else. I mean, I've mentioned this before, but Moxley and Balor, both of them are super cool guys. But it is also not a pretty match, just like the Cody Janela match. But a lot of mat wrestling in the beginning, which quickly turns into a slugfest. Like, these two men look like they want to beat the absolute crap out of each other, like they're old enemies or something. But Moxley does finally hit a paradigm shift to win the match. Afterward, the Dark Order attack, and out comes Mr. Brody Lee, and basically issues a challenge to Jon Moxley for the AEW title, to which Jon Moxley, a beaten down Jon Moxley, grabs the mic and he says, "Dude, all you had to do was ask." One final big boot to Jon Moxley, and the Dark Order basically usurped the title from Jon Moxley and handed it over to Brody Lee. So Brody Lee is basically in possession of it, kind of like what Jinder Mahal did to Randy Orton with the WWE title. Dark times. But I'm pretty sure it's going to be like that, but way, way better. Looking to see where this goes. An interesting feud here, Lee and Moxley. So yeah, let's see where this takes us. We now get QT Marshall getting murdered. Taking on Lance Archer. Pretty short match. It's basically all Archer for most of it. While Jake the Snake Roberts practicing social distancing and safe behaviors, wearing a mask and whatnot. And doing what he's got to do. He takes off the mask and claps and laughs and stuff like that. He has a little white sack with him. I wonder what's in there. Then we had, in the middle of the match, Britt Baker kind of getting involved. She tries to hit QT Marshall with her heel once again. Brandy, of course, grabs her shoe and just chucks it at the benches, at the bleachers. This pisses off Britt Baker for something she will do later on in this match. What did you expect? It was Lance Archer. He won the match. He hit the blackout and then did the Iron Claw of EFD, whatever it's called. Afterwards, we had Britt coming in, beat the hell out of Brandy Rhodes, and tosses her into the ring. Jake the Snake comes in and brings out that white sack and pulls out a snake. That's right. And he places it on top of her and lies on top of her, and he looks like he's grinding on the snake, which is on top of Brandy, so it kind of creates a really disturbing image. But yeah, that was something. That's all I gotta say. Let's move on. The card for Double or Nothing is starting to take shape. Real quick, I'm going to talk about some of the matches that are already announced. We do have Jon Moxley versus Brody Lee for the AEW World Title. Then Jungle Boy versus MJF. Cody versus Lance Archer for the AEW TNT title. And instead of the Casino Battle Royal this time around, we have the Casino Ladder match, and we'll get more information on that next week. It is time for our main event. We have Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara, also known as Les Sex Gods, taking on Broken Matt Hardy and Kenny Omega in a street fight. This is, of course, Matt Hardy's in-ring debut. Matt Hardy fights as Broken Matt Hardy, then comes out as the Hardy Boy, this whole thing, and finally as Damascus. Basically, I think Matt Hardy is going to kind of do a gimmick that is akin to Mick Foley and what he did with his characters Dude Love and, Cactus Jack and Mankind. So that should be interesting to see. At one point, Matt Hardy's Twitter handle was the Omnifarious Matt Hardy. So perhaps that's what they're doing. I guess that's what the power of Damascus is. He can tap into other, characters of Matt Hardy. So that's pretty interesting. I like this kind of new layer to Damascus. The match does go towards the back area, and there's an assortment of weapons available for both teams to use. At one point, Chris Jericho grabs a cone, puts it on his head, and laughs like a witch. That was funny. Damascus, at one point, attacked Hager, Guevara, and Jericho with a golf cart. I think that was one of the spots of the week. That was amazing. And but finally, Kenny was about to put Jericho away with a one-winged angel when Santana and Ortiz return to save their meal ticket. And of course, Jericho hits the Judas effect onto Kenny Omega for the second or third time. I've lost count at this point. To win the match. And afterwards, they beat up on Hardy and Kenny, like the vultures they are. And they do the Shield powerbomb off to both of them. And they all stick their middle fingers in the middle, much like the Shield used to do, except they used to do this. Santana decides to serenade us out of the broadcast by screaming, "The best, the best, the best, the best."
One eternity later.
The best, the best, the best. Not annoying at all. But anyway, regardless, really good, fun match. awesome match here. Like I liked everything about it. When Kenny goes to his like hardcore style of wrestling, it's absolutely amazing and just wonderful stuff that he can do. Matt Hardy, like I said, I'm loving this new layer that Damascus has where he can tap into the multiple personalities of Matt Hardy. So looking forward to more of that. And next week, we are finally getting Kenny and Hardy teaming up once again to take on Santana and Ortiz. So that should be a good match. But for now, let's move on to NXT. We begin NXT with the new Johnny Gargano taking on Dominik Dijacovik. Johnny Gargano has discarded his Rebel Heart theme music, RIP Rebel Heart, and has replaced it with some generic hip-hop, because that seems to be the trend these days with pro wrestlers. Pretty good match. I liked it a lot. Dijacovik is dominant for most of this match. Then Candice LeRae does try to help, but it is of no avail. At one point, Johnny Gargano is lying down on the mat and towards the apron, and Dijacovik tries to pull him. Candice grabs Johnny's legs, but she is not able to pull him. Like, he literally pulls Johnny, Dijacovik does, and you can see Candice's legs, feet go up in the air. Like, that was awesome. Like, it shows the strength of Dominik Dijacovik. Johnny Gargano, adopting a new crafty attitude, does get his wife to distract him while he tries to loosen one of the turnbuckle pads. And he finally does, and he smashes Dijakovik's face onto it. This allows him to hit a super kick and the one final beat. That's the name of his finisher. It's that slingshot DDT that he does. It's called One Final Beat as kind of a thing saying that, the Rebel Heart is dead and, it was the last heartbeat for the Rebel Heart. And finally wins the match. I am really liking Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae's character. They are insufferable pricks at this point. Again, goes to show what happens when, a man that stood for truth and justice turns to the dark side, right? So this is pretty cool. I'm really digging this. So props to Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae for taking this these new characters and absolutely just making magic with them. Next up, we do have Fabian Eichner and Marcel Barthel. They're cutting a promo on Matt Riddle and Timothy Thatcher, and they basically are staking claim to the NXT Tag Team titles. Later on in an interview, both Riddle and Thatcher do accept, so that should be a really good match. It is happening next week, I believe. That should be fantastic. But let's move on to our next match. It's the Cruiserweight tournament once again. Akira Tozawa taking on the prisoner Jack Gallagher. And this is a decent match. I didn't think it was anything to write home about. I could have been better, in my opinion. And that's kind of interesting for me to say for a Cruiserweight match. I just wish there was a little bit more in this match, but hey, it is what it is. I did like the different styles being exhibited by both men. Jack Gallagher kind of stays grounded and does the whole ground and pound, while Tozawa does like to go high and do all the high-risk moves, which does work to his favor because he does hit the flying senton to pin Gallagher and moves up in the rankings to 2-0. Up next, my wife Xia Li takes on Chelsea Green in a not too great of a match. It was decent. Green comes in with a wedding gown, and she uses it to her advantage. She kind of removes the little wedding gown thing and throws it at Lee, who gets distracted, and this helps her get the advantage. But Xia does become dominant for a little bit, and then Aaliyah interrupts, and because of this distraction, this allows Chelsea Green to hit the I'm Prettier to win the match. Very, very sad day for my love of my life, Xia Li. So, up next, we have the debut of Karrion Kross, formerly known as Killer Kross, of course, but his entrance, my God, was it freaking mind-blowing. So let me tell you, he has a black and white lighting with a bunch of smoke while Scarlett serenades him into the ring. So, there are lyrics to his theme music, and Scarlett is lip-syncing them. She herself sang the song, of course, as she confirmed it on Twitter. So that's awesome. And she, like I said, serenades Kross as he enters the ring. And, the lighting changes when he enters the ring. It turns red from black and white. It's so freaking awesome. My God, his intro is amazing. He squashes a jobber, by the way, but who cares? His intro is awesome. Are you kidding me? Like, this is probably the best intro sequence I've ever seen for a wrestler, at least in WWE, since The Fiend. Yes, I said it. Karrion Kross versus The Fiend, battle of the freaking intros, and my little Pokemon fell. But yes, freaking battle of the intros between The Fiend and Karrion Kross. I need that to happen. I need that in my life. Inject it in my goddamn veins. Please and thank you. I'm keeping that in there, by the way. Up next, Io Shirai takes on the Queen Charlotte Flair for the NXT Women's title. This is supposed to be like a dream match, which it definitely is a dream match for me, but it just happens to be pretty good. I feel like both of these women were kind of holding back, and perhaps they're just doing that so that, maybe once we can have crowds again at full capacity and, we can do takeovers, maybe there, you will get a little bit more intensity in the match. It was still a pretty good match for what it was. But yeah, both women did hold their own in this. Both of them hit each other with their moonsaults, but both of them missed the moonsault. But it was good seeing them in the ring, just interacting, both of these women. Charlotte does lose by DQ when she gets a kendo stick and hits Io Shirai, and then continues to put a hurting, goes after the leg, when who should return but the Nightmare Rhea Ripley, and she comes out, beats up on Charlotte for a little bit, who gets the heck out of Dodge. And then she goes to the back. Io follows her, yelling in Japanese, and Rhea repeatedly keeps telling her to shut up. Backstage, there is an interview with Rhea Ripley, and Io Shirai interrupts it, and they both have a bit of a brawl. I'm guessing that they're going to have a match next week, which Charlotte is probably going to interrupt, and this is going to lead to a triple threat between Rhea, Io, and Charlotte. And I'm guessing Io is going to pin Rhea to retain, so that you can't pin Charlotte because it's the end of the world, and the coronavirus will spread everywhere if that happens. We'll all die of the coronavirus if Charlotte ever gets pinned. Up next, we do have our next match in the interim cruiserweight championship tournament. It is Kushida taking on Jake Atlas. Atlas's theme does remind me just a little bit of Balor's New Japan theme, when the real rock and roll theme, just a little bit. I think it's just because they're both dubstep tracks. Maybe that's why. But anyway, great match here. I absolutely loved it. This was better than Gallagher versus Tozawa, in my opinion. But I really, really liked it. Both competitors are absolutely flawless in their technique. Just buttery smooth moves from both of these men. Absolute fantastic. Just I can gush over this match for so long. I highly suggest you watch this because it was really, really good. Kushida beat Atlas by catching him in midair and putting him in an armbar. Like, how awesome is that? Like, this is the kind of shit that I want to see more of. Okay, this is what makes the cruiserweights great. So do not underestimate the cruiserweights. This is like just classic. This is a good freaking match. Okay, again, please go watch it. Do yourself a favor. It's definitely on my list for when we do the top 10 matches of May. Kushida is 2-0 in his standings in the tournament. So Tozawa and Kushida are both 2-0. I am definitely smelling a match between those two. That's going to be epic when that clash eventually happens. Hopefully we'll see what happens to Drake Maverick next week, so we still have that going on. So I'm going to lump these together as well. Finn Balor had an in-ring promo. He kind of got to the podium and he started talking. I guess that's where he's going to cut his promos now. Basically, he talked about how, if you want to push, you go after, the guy and whatnot. And he talks about to his attacker. He says, if you're looking for a push, you're gonna get squashed. Ooh, using insider wrestling terms there, buddy. I see you. This is a really good promo. I don't do it justice. I suggest you go watch it because Finn Balor is cool. Then after that, we did have a match with Cameron Grimes in which he squashes a local talent, so that's there. But afterwards, he cuts a promo and he references Balor and says that if he was there, he would slap him in the face. Balor does appear once again, and basically he's like, "Hey, I'm here, slap me in the face." They both kind of get into it, but Balor does hit a double stomp, and an enziguri onto Cameron Grimes, leaving him laying. Next week, both of these men will be in action. That should be a good match. But yeah, still a lot of intrigue going on with who was Finn Balor's attacker. I have a couple of ideas. I think it could be Karrion Kross, because you saw what he did to Tommaso Ciampa. It could be Ciampa himself, perhaps, or it could be Johnny Gargano, because he beat him at TakeOver, or
it's me, Austin! Oh, son of a bitch!
It could be him, right? Oh boy, I'm giving WWE ideas. Damn it. All right, let's move on to the main event. It is now time for our main event. We have Adam Cole taking on the Velveteen Dream. And Adam Cole has the boom from the audience recorded, but he doesn't have the Adam Cole baby recorded from the audience. And quite frankly, I think it's just much better when there is a crowd saying it. So I would actually like for him to have that recording of the fans saying Adam Cole baby. Oh, right, that's right. You can't have a heel be supported by the crowd. So, you can't do that. Whatever. This was a pretty good match. I liked it a lot. These two people actually know each other like the back of their hand very, very well. Strong and Fish did try to get involved towards the latter half of the match, but was stopped by Dexter Lumis, who was hiding under the ring all this time. How long has this man been there? But then again, he probably was just there for now because there's no people. So yeah, this was cool. Dexter Lumis does attack Fish and Strong, but of course both of these men do get the better of him. This kind of distracts Dream, which allows Adam Cole to hit the super kick and the last shot to win the match and retain the NXT title. In, I think, 2 more days, he will be the longest reigning NXT champion, beating out Finn Balor for that record. So that should be really good. Or, hey, maybe it was the Undisputed Era who attacked Finn Balor. Who knows? But yeah, that was a good match, a great way to end out NXT. So, I thought that both shows had like a centerpiece going on for it, like one specific aspect of both shows that had me engaged. For AEW, it was the street fight between Les Sex Gods and Matt Hardy and Kenny Omega. I loved the whole kind of dynamic with Matt Hardy, with Damascus being able to access the many different personalities of Matt Hardy, whether it was Hardy Boy, Broken Matt, V1 Matt Hardy. I hope we see V1 and Big Money Matt at some point. That would be pretty cool. Just make sure he doesn't get those braids. Like, that was weird. I don't know why the hell he did that. Of course, NXT, the biggest thing going on for that was Karrion Kross's debut. His intro is fantastic. Again, Karrion Kross versus The Fiend, battle of the intros. Make it happen, WWE. That's something that we need. But I'm going to ultimately go with AEW just because I think a match outweighs an intro. So, that whole thing. But doesn't mean NXT was a terrible show. It was a fantastic show. Matches of the night for me on AEW, Cody versus Janela. Of course, the main event, which was the street fight. And I will say Jon Moxley versus Frankie Kazarian. Those 3 matches. As far as NXT is concerned, I'm going to go ahead and say Johnny Gargano versus Dominik Dijacovik was a good match. I will say that, of course, Kushida versus Jake Atlas was amazing. And Adam Cole versus Velveteen Dream. Those were my matches of the night. So that pretty much concludes my review of AEW and NXT. Let me know what you guys thought about both shows in the comment section below. Also, be sure once again to check out Armbar Nerds on YouTube and on Anchor and Spotify and Google Podcasts and many other podcast platforms. I'll have the links for those in the description below. Please do check it out and support. Really, really appreciate it. But until next time, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your continued support. This is Sid signing off. I'll see you next time. You guys take care. Bye-bye.